The draconian Texas abortion law is, at the very least for a bit, halted. A federal judge late yesterday granted the Justice Department's request to halt enforcement of it. Judge Pitman used sharp language to criticize the law known as Senate Bill 8, which was drafted to make it difficult to challenge in court by delegating enforcement to private individuals who can sue anyone who performs abortions or aids and abets them. If that sounds vague to you, it's because, yeah, it is. That's what it was designed to do. And if you're not familiar with this, the Texas law bans abortions once cardiac activity can be detected in an embryo, usually after about 6 weeks of pregnancy. Those are called heartbeat bills, even though what they're detecting are not heartbeats. It's electrical activity on a few different cardiac cells. Healthcare experts say women may not even know they're pregnant during that time frame, and the law makes no exception for pregnancies that are the results of rape or incest. It made no exceptions for women's constitutional rights. Why should it care about those things? In any event, for right now, Michael, it is being held. Texas is appealing that decision, obviously. But we've been kind of waiting for this to see if it would happen, and at least for now we have that.
Well, we were waiting for it, but so too were the people who put the law into place. They put in provisions to this that even if sued, or even if upheld, even if this were upheld by the courts, that they would put into place a retroactive penalty because they feel that the circuit court is going to take the block away. Put in a retroactive penalty to those providers who provide abortions during this interim time, so that they can go back, and if an abortion is performed after 6 weeks, they can criminally go after those abortion providers who did that during this interregnum. They think that the circuit court, which is a conservative court, is going to overturn what this judge has done. So that's the scary part here as well.
Yeah, maybe you can answer this. And if not, I wish we had Adrian here. I'm not a lawyer. How is that constitutional? Because I thought one of the sort of like core components of law is that you cannot criminalize something that happened before it was against the law. Like as of right now, this is not the law in Texas. It's not illegal to do this. So how can you then say, well, if you had done it during that time, you can be sued? That seems like one of the core things. And again, I'm very much obviously not a lawyer.
Yeah, I think, and I won't speak for Adrian, but I think that lawyers don't believe that that is something that would stand up. Actually, it's a scare tactic. It's extra constitutional. You're right. I mean, if a federal court says this cannot go forward, then right now you are obeying the law. If you do what they say, what they want to make illegal until such a time as it is. So retroactive punishment for a time where it is legal seems extra constitutional. It's a scare tactic though, and it's probably a good one.
Yeah, well, so someone said you can't put into a law that the law still applies if it's struck down. Yeah, because even that component has been struck down, at least temporarily. Yeah, the entire, and look, and theoretically, if we're onto something, that could be used to knock down the law. But look, what we are in some ways criticizing is the sort of like intellectual or philosophical honesty of the bill, which is, it's not designed to do that. It's not, they're not making it be. They didn't do the $10,000 bounty system because they thought, we've really thought about it. And we think this is consistent with American legal principles, and that's what we need to do. All of this is strategic. The battleground that they want to outlaw it everywhere at all times. And this is basically fun and games until the massively conservative Supreme Court takes it up. And it's even more fun for everyone in America, especially people who might desire an abortion to exercise their rights, in that this might not even be the thing that results in Roe v. Wade being overturned. There's multiple challenges that might result in that right now. So that's fun. Always remember the Supreme Court when choosing who to support for president. I'll just say that yet again. Anyway, I want to give you a little bit of what Judge Pitman said. From the moment SB 8 went into effect, women have been unlawfully prevented from exercising control over their own lives in ways that are protected by the Constitution. This court will not sanction one more day of this offensive deprivation of such an important right. Yes, and that is good. It is good to have someone in a position of power that thinks that women losing a right that they've had for half a century is significant. I would love to see more politicians doing that. Maybe the ones that control the country. That would be great, to take it seriously. We haven't really seen much of that. Instead, we get to have a debate about the Hyde Amendment in the infrastructure bill. We want to send a very clear message to the women of Texas. Though we are not Republicans, kind of agree with them on some things. That's always fun. Anyway, yeah, well, so Texas has appealed to the US Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit, quite conservative. Supposedly a decision on this on the appeal could come as soon as a few days. So, like if you're gonna have a party over this, do it tonight because it might not last the weekend. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It probably won't last the weekend, or it'll last the weekend and not much past that. And this is all headed to the Supreme Court, and whether or not the court takes it up is a different question. I think a Ginsburg-less court is something that John Roberts knows that he may not want to oversee when it comes to Roe v. Wade. He may not have an option if there's a preponderance of cases. But I do think that that's what they're after here. They're after reelecting, getting conservative Christian voters to the ballot boxes to reelect a Republican Congress and Republican governors next year, and to test the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and look, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. It is an incredibly ideologically conservative court. They didn't bring Amy Coney Barrett because she's just the best of the best or whatever. That said, like
how different things would be if Ruth Bader Ginsburg lived for like 4 more months, and it's an incredible thing to say. I mean, wonderful that she lived well into her whatever 90s, 80s, 90s, but it really did make a big difference. And also, if the Democrats had not folded when Merrick Garland was their nominee for the court, these things matter more than any of the other things we talk about in any other show or at any other time. It's what happens at the high court.
They do. They can't stress it enough. But we'll see. I mean, this bill is just hot garbage. It is nonsense. It is obvious what the goal is. And we'll see. Will the Supreme Court find it a bridge too far? Like they want to do this, but like with this, I don't know, why not? We were just talking about power is power. The members of SCOTUS are not angels, okay? They're Amy Coney Barrett could have been a Republican senator. Like, if you had a slight what if situation, if she'd had a conversation with Star-Lord instead of getting on the Supreme Court, suddenly she's a senator. So it'll be a fun year coming up when it comes to reproductive rights. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.